Let's take a look at anatomy posts from Reddit. Who are these clothes being made for? Oh, my friend, let me introduce you to a phenomenon known as the wasp waist. It was and still is a beauty practice in which you compress the normal human form in a way to make it look like you have the waist of a wasp. Very thin, and I do mean very thin, waist circumferences of 20 inches and below, the record being, I believe, 16 inches, which is crazy. Now, you might be wondering, does this have any side effects? Oh boy, does it. Your midsection, or your abdominal area, is largely composed of a lot of squishy structures. So, in theory, you can supply force in order to make them look smaller. However, the slimming effect that you see here is not so much from the reorganization of adipose or fat tissue. It has more to do with the fact that you are basically like a toothpaste tube, and your abdomen, your abdominal area, is largely filled with hollow tubes and squishy little organs that can be displaced. And yes, that's as bad for you as it sounds. And if you start early enough or use it long enough, you can actually change your very bone structure, causing your ribs to narrow and in some cases even overlap, or in the worst case, maybe puncture an organ or two. Our tissues respond to forces, so like resistance training makes your bones thicker and heavier, makes your muscles stronger. But if you just apply compression, it will cause things to change shape. And this probably looks pretty unhealthy, but what is actually happening here is you can impede the ability of the diaphragm to contract. So you might end up with respiratory issues. You can squeeze the organs, your colon, large intestine, small intestine, in a way that it can cause restriction or torsion or twisting, which might be fatal. Remember how I said your abdomen is like a toothpaste tube? Well, there's only a few ways to go, and up isn't really an option because of the diaphragm. There's a dome there that gets in the way. So mostly it gets squished down into your pelvic cavity. If you happen to be a person with a uterus and you suddenly crowd that area with organs that aren't supposed to be there, fertility issues can arise. And this ranges from everything from restricted blood flow, causing issues with the actual menstrual cycle, to torsion and twisting of the uterine tubes or compression of the uterus itself. In at least one horror story from the past, the compression was so intense that it actually caused organ prolapse, basically the inversion of the uterus to the outside of the body. You really are just a tube of goo. If you squeeze one end, stuff's gonna come out the other one. In the past, this practice was more likely imposed on you if you were female. However, this beauty standard has not gone away. It has evolved. And of course, corsets are still around, but there's also a new device called a waist trainer. These trainers essentially do the same thing as the corsets of old. They wrap around you and supply a huge amount of pressure, basically reorganizing the paste you have inside. To make it worse, these modern ones tack on the claim that they can help with weight loss, which I suppose is true because if you're crushing your intestines and stomach, you can't fit very much in there. I fully support people looking how they want to look, but when you see devices like this, a lot of times they lead with all the positives and just kind of leave off the side effects and all the history of awful things that have happened when you use these. And that's why I'm here, to fill in all those blanks that they don't want you to know about. Remember, informed consent matters for everything that is going to happen to your body, and that includes things that you are doing to it. As always, thanks for learning with me, and if you got a question, you know what to do.